mandates you all. I am Kinsmark, and I did it! I freaking did it! I came in first. I claimed the crown. I am the last man standing. I had a feeling it happened off camera because I do play this game in my personal time, and because concentrating on commentary and gameplay for this sort of game is a challenge, I'm going to change up the format a little and commentate over the footage of the match I came in first in, that I captured most of. The cutoff of my shadow recording missed the first minute or so, consisting of just me creeping around the starting area, collecting a few guns, and then ducking into a house. I have to confess something, though. I changed some settings for this match. I turned the grass down to low settings so I could see. I know, I feel like I cheated too, even though it's a feature of the game. I actually intended just to see which forms of cover, or more accurately concealment, is consistently visible across all foliage settings so I could know what's safe to hide in against other players, because I've gotten killed in a few matches from thinking I was safe in tall grass, only to get sniped from across the field because some guy could see me plain as day. And apparently, just changing that one thing made such a difference that I won the first match I played that way. I'll let you come up with your own feelings about the fairness of that, and I can't say I'll debate anyone's conclusions. I should also clarify, I played with headphones as well, which made a huge difference in terms of situational awareness. I could hear players' footsteps much more clearly and from much further away than just using traditional speakers. So anyway, enough talking about it, cue the footage. The capture starts here, and as I said, I had just ducked into a house for cover because I heard an awful lot of gunfire coming from close to my position, and clearly, as one can see, eliminations came fast and furious the first few minutes of this match, because it's just a few minutes in, and already just 30-some-odd players are left. And so I had actually started to hole up here because I'd started experimenting using these fortification shields a few matches prior, because sometimes just holding still is critically advantageous, considering movement calls the most attention to oneself in this game, and avoiding detection is the single most viable survival strategy. So even since I was sort of close to the edge of the map, I figured I'd just let the other competitors in the area get the fights out of their system and move on, and I'd just hole up and hopefully pick anyone off that tried coming up the stairs. I actually can't say I recall the precise details of this match, because I confess I'm conducting this commentary a few weeks after it happened because of some personal life concerns that made me have to put this off. So I can sort of remember the course of events that led to the conclusion of the match. Clearly, though, I didn't have any idea that I'd actually end up coming out the victor for this one, so just those last few minutes are the ones cemented in my mind. The rest of this, I'm sort of seeing again for the first time-ish, because I haven't actually checked this footage in preparation for this episode. And clarification for anyone that's maybe new around here, composing myself like this, sort of in post about my own footage, isn't a format I've used at all on this channel, so it feels a little strange for me commentating this way. Anyway, at this point, all I can really tell is that I'm sure one could hear some of the gunshots coming from close to me in the match. And yeah, the PP19 here, I started favoring after a few matches, because it's punishing for a pistol caliber SMG, and I love the rate of fire and controllability for it. It's one of the most easy to just keep on target guns in the game, as far as I'm concerned. So at this point, there's the 900 vest. I can attest to how handy that came in a little later in the match. Mild spoilers there. Spoilers for my own content. All is silent, and that concerns me. Considering again that I had just heard shots clearly in close proximity to my position, and then all went silent. So aside from the chance that maybe they just mutually killed each other, that means that the victor of that little conflict is alive and close to me. So, man, this is so strange, conducting an episode like this. Ooh, I hear the footsteps. They are just underneath me. I can, like, feel the tension, even though I know how this match turns out. Ah. There's a fight. So, I can't tell how much of the audio locality is actually coming across for you guys. A shot came from the corner over my shoulder, and I could hear the footsteps coming from another direction, so there's a couple of players around me at this point. So, clearly, as you can see, I'm using the third person to peek around corners here. Also, I should clarify that, yeah, I have earned a few cosmetic items. There we are. I decided I didn't want to risk just letting the grenade kill him, so that's why I started pumping him full of lead. So there we go. And this thing, the ACX-10, I have learned to love, because semi-automatic is semi-viable in this game, depending upon the power of the round. And this one is pretty controllable. So if you concentrate on staying on target and then just tap fire, you're usually pretty good. Anyway, checking out those accessories. Man, I can hardly say enough how strange this feels, because I feel like I'm just filling air since, you know, clearly this isn't a live match. Ah, man. And again, though, I sort of figured I'd actually complete the objective of coming in first away from camera, because just the sound of my own voice can drown out the sound of footsteps of competitors and that sort of thing, or distant gunshots, so that I have situational awareness of conflict zones around me, etc. So at this point, note the direction of the map. Here we go, yeah. That I've posted up so that I'm facing the constricting perimeter and an area that I know a lot of players creep around in for all of the cover and gear that spawns in there. So at this point, I'm posted up to pick off anyone that is racing the perimeter to prevent getting eliminated. Since I know I have a clear flank to my rear, because no one is coming this way. They're all coming from the perimeter to get away from it. And since I know I'm safely inside of the area that it'll constrict to, I can safely pick players off from here. Because that's the one thing that I think is most advantageous, aside from just situational awareness in general, is minding the flanks that one is most vulnerable from at any given time in this game. It's risk management, essentially. You know, knowing the most likely direction competitors are likely to come from, and concentrating all of your attention there. Because at any point, there are just any number of directions players can come from, so you're never completely safe. I actually had a match that I lost because I came down to the final 5, and I was just certain in my mind that I only had to fear the single flank facing inward to the circle, and it was just a few yards wide at that point. And so I took cover at a tree that, of course, was facing the outside perimeter, and then I got lit up from outside the perimeter wall, because some dude had gotten caught out there and was sprinting to catch up and to get inside the perimeter, saw me in front of him in the cover that he was racing to get safe, like that guy, and then just lit me up from the other side of the glowy energy wall. So even that isn't always a hard consideration of safety. Oh man, I don't know why I compromised my position here that way. Because he was just running away. Oh well, I guess I felt a little greedy. Ooh, there we go. Ooh, almost a headshot. And clearly he doesn't have any idea where I came from. I still don't think he sees where the shots are coming from. Man, this is so strange to see my own actions and to try to either remember or to figure out what's going through my head at the time. Ah, there he is. He saw me now. Yeah, he decided that fight was not worth it. And that crunch sound, I can't remember if I've ever said this in an episode proper. I had thought for a long time that crunch sound was the audio marker for a kill. It isn't. It's the audio marker for a headshot. And sometimes headshots, clearly, aren't enough to actually finish off a target. And here I figured out that he actually had a DMR and was a decent shot, so I didn't care to finish that fight. And there came another shot from my left. I don't know why I didn't turn to find out the source of that shot, because that was clearly aimed at me. Oh man, it's strange to also notice things in post that I just didn't the first time around. Alright. So this is one of the centers, this valley, that the map will constrict on sometimes. And again, I cheated a little, strangely. I mean, I hesitate to say that I actually cheated, because I didn't. I didn't use any, like, aimbots or anything like that. I just used features that are in the game itself to do with the foliage settings, because I cranked them all down. And came to find that most of the time, tall grass and even some of the shrubbery just don't appear on minimal settings. So you have to stick to actual trees for any amount of concealment, because so much of it just isn't there for players that, you know, are playing on less powerful PCs, or like this, have intentionally turned the settings down. Is that same guy? Oh man, I can't remember the name. And these trees right here, the ones that are planted a little too deeply in the map, are they're completely a godsend for cover, because this clearly still shows up for everyone. So, considering the color palette for my character's cosmetic items, you know, it's all shades of tan and that reddish earthy tone that aren't a complete match for the trees. Like, I actually think the standing, like, green shirt and tan pants would actually camouflage even more. I'm careful about a compromise of looking good and performing well, because vibrant colors just aren't a good choice for survivability in this game. So, I'm also careful about when I move. You'll notice that at this point is when, like, lateral movements I make really quickly. Because, yeah, that jerk can call attention to you. At the same time, though, so can just moving slowly, because that's just a longer duration of movement to catch people's eyes. So I'm covering this guy, since he's one that I actually have eyes on. And anyone that has their audio turned up can hear. There's an awful lot of gunfire going on in all directions. So I'm trying to pick this guy off through the windows in his shields, because he has fortressed himself up in a little circle of fortifications there. And check out the corner of the screen, because he just dropped somebody up there. And at this point, I think I made the call to cease fire for the most part, because it's just a few players left, and allowing the rest to kill themselves off and to then just ambush the one remaining competitor is one of the safest means of survival. I figured anyway. Oh man, I can feel that tension, because all that fire is coming from my right, and I'm so scared that if I move, whoever is doing that shooting over there will see the movement. So there we go, there's that quick snap to check this flank. Because I'm pretty sure... Ooh, geez, man, I can hear it again. I can, like, relive this through watching this footage. There he is. I I saw him at the tree. There he is. I think he saw me. Oh, jeez. So messy. Hold still. There you go. Because clearly he knew I was in this area. I don't think he had a concrete pin on my position. So he threw that grenade to flush me out, make me move, and then get a clear target. So there he is. He's down. I can't tell if that one guy I was shooting at is down. I guess... Yeah, I must have put him down earlier and just didn't notice as I picked him off at his shields. So it's down to just me and the last competitor, and there he is. So each of us are just holding position, hoping for the other to show his hand. And I'm so nervous at this point that I don't want to shoot much. There it is. And that is match complete. You are the last man standing. Because ambush tactics work. Ah, that feels good. So, I can consider that a learning experience, since again, utilization of concealment won me that match, and you know, I consider it a flaw of sorts that I could use that difference in foliage settings to my advantage, because I feel like it makes a pretty substantial difference in combat strategies, and because acquiring a target is the first step of putting that target down and actually putting shots on them. So, you know, I don't know exactly how I'd advise changes to that to take place, because aside from just saying that if you don't have a powerful enough rig to run the game with some amount of grass on, I mean, there isn't much to do about that. It's just sort of a fairness concern that I think I've exemplified, used to my advantage, although I confess, as good as it feels to have that gold, yeah, I can't escape the fact that I feel a little dirty holding it. It's a little rusty, that metal. It's not rusty enough for me to not want to keep it, though. So, I have to say, I was a little underwhelmed at the contents of the Champions crate, because it was just some cosmetics I'm honestly never going to use, and a taunt animation, and that's about it. Even so, that gold medal feels good. So that concludes this series, because I said I'd continue it till I came in first, and I have. I've won! And I have more competitive scavenging games like this to cover here on the channel. So stick around for those here in the very near future. Thank you all kindly for watching. If you've enjoyed this series, consider checking out our Patreon to help us keep the show alive. I am Kidsmark here at That's Level Press, and as always, I wish you all good gaming and Godspeed. I came in first, I claimed the crown, and now I am the last man standing, and I ran out of breath. God damn it.